is going on, Raider Nation? It is JT with another episode of the Raidercast, your podcast for everything silver and black. Today we will be going over my final 53-man roster predictions for the upcoming 2022-2023 NFL season for your Las Vegas Raiders. So, moving on to my predictions, I'm not going to sugarcoat what happened my stream yesterday. It sucked. I didn't like it. I thought it was bad content for you guys, so I deleted it. And I wanted to do another video today for you guys that'll be much better, just a better overall video and content for you, because I want to make the best content I can. I don't want to do anything lazy. I didn't have high energy. There was a lot of technical difficulties going on yesterday. I didn't like how it came out, so I wanted to do another video for you guys, because you guys deserve the good content, or as good a content as I can give you guys. But let's take a look at what my final 53 looks like. Starting with the offense, it's going to be a screen share for now, because so let me make this my little box a little bit smaller. There we go. Now you can see everything. There we go. All right. Not blocking anything. So for QB, we have Derek Carr and Jarrett Stidham. Pretty obvious. I don't think he'll carry three quarterbacks. It's kind of useless. We can probably get Chase Garbers back on the practice squad, and if we can't, we can get someone that's worthy of a practice squad spot. We definitely don't need to waste a roster spot on Chase Garbers, especially if he can come back to the practice squad, which I hope he does, because I'm really excited to see if he can develop into anything. And then we have running backs: Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden, and Britton Brown. Now, I have 5 running backs and a fullback. Obviously, we're keeping Jakob Johnson, but 5 running backs is something that people are back and forth about, at least I've seen. But the majority seem to think that Britton Brown, which I agree with, should be on the roster. He's had a wonderful preseason. He's too valuable to cut, as people will definitely scoop him up if given the chance to. He's just had that good of a preseason, so it's not good to cut him, because then we run the risk of losing him to another team. So I think carrying 5 backs, though, is good for our offense, as Amir Abdullah will definitely do a lot of like the special teams kick return stuff. And Brandon Bolden is just a reliable veteran. He's just McDaniels' guy. There's no way he's getting cut. And then Britton Brown and Zamir White look like pretty much studded running backs, rookie running backs. And then you have Josh Jacobs, who's been a very consistent back for us his whole entire career, past 3 seasons. And then Jakob Johnson's an obvious choice. We don't have any other fullback. There's not many fullbacks to choose from, so we better keep him. And then for wide receiver, I have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Tyron Johnson, Matt Collins, and DJ Turner. And there's a name missing that you guys may not be so surprised about now to hear, that Keelan Cole, I think, will definitely be gone. The writing's on the wall. If you're playing with the likes of Isaiah Zuber, Justin Hall, Dylan Stoner in the fourth last preseason game in the fourth quarter, then I don't think you have a roster spot, especially if you have Matt Collins, Devontae Adams, and Hunter Renfrow sitting on the sideline, and Tyron Johnson, DJ Turner already playing this game. Keelan Cole is not a bad receiver. I never thought he is a bad receiver, but he's clearly not making this roster. I was actually kind of not necessarily high, but definitely excited about the signing. I thought he would be a very solid, veteran wide receiver. If Devontae Adams, knock on wood, or Hunter Renfrow, or any of our receivers went down, he'd be reliable enough to get the job done, especially when you have Darren Waller still there. But DJ Turner kind of exploded onto the preseason scene. Maybe it's just an overreaction of how he played. Maybe they don't feel the same way, but DJ Turner's playing the first half and not the second half really showed me that they're definitely considering him to definitely be on the 53. Now, he also has that special teams ability, like Matt Collins and Tyron Johnson. He has abilities on special teams to contribute. That's what they look for, especially from the lower end. And Keelan Cole, I'm not really sure has that type of play in him to do. So I think that's why they go roll with DJ Turner over Keelan Cole, and maybe, as I'll talk about in a little bit, maybe try and get him offloaded with someone else missing from this 53-man roster. And then moving on to tight end, I have Darren Waller, Foster Moreau, and then Jesper Horsted, who is one of my players to watch if you watched that video way back when, probably about a month and a half ago now. I talked about him before the preseason as someone to watch out for. Jesper Horsted definitely has the abilities as a wide receiver, as he was one at Princeton, to make great catches as he showed against Miami and also against the Patriots his last preseason game. The last 2 games has been excellent so far. He's like a top 3 graded PFF offensive player. Sorry, top 3 graded player by PFF for on our offense. This out of the entire preseason, out of all the preseason snaps he's taken, like a 79 point something. He's a good run blocker, pass blocker, and he can catch the ball. That's all you can ask for from a tight end at this point, especially from your tight end 3. He's not going to have insane stats, but he should get 200 to 300 yards maybe if he's a tight end 3, and quite a few 3 or 4 touchdowns. Honestly, he's just a really good red zone threat as well. He's just a big guy. And then looking at a starting offensive line, you have left tackle being Colton Miller, left guard Dylan Parham, center Andre Simpson, right guard Lester Cotton, right tackle Jermaine Illuminor, Thayer Munford, and then Brandon Parker. Now, Jackson Barton has impressed me this preseason. He's had high grades, and even with the eye test, you can see that he's definitely a very solid backup tackle / guard. He played a lot of guard versus the Patriots this last preseason game, so he definitely has the versatility to play both spots if he's needed to. Now, I have Dylan Parham over John Simpson just because it's very telling that he's all of a sudden now the starter left guard for us against the Patriots in the preseason joint practices. Although you might be like, oh, that's just practice. Yeah, but it's practice against another team. That's when they really pull out all the starters, as we heard about Davante Adams absolutely destroying the Patriots defensive backs. Dylan Parham was playing with the first team, so that just shows me that this is most likely the starting 5 offensive linemen, especially as well as Jermaine Illuminor sitting there at right tackle, which is a much more reliable choice. He's not going to be a wow factor at all, but he's not going to make us lose games like Brandon Parker would or Alex Leatherwood would. And now Thayer Munford is going to be on the team. He's going to develop, in my opinion, he might be the future at right tackle. He's definitely shown flashes of being able to be that guy in the future, but he hasn't showed enough consistency yet to really be named the starter, and plus he's injured. Same thing with Brandon Parker. Brandon Parker is just going to fall ass backwards into another roster spot somehow, but he does that every year. And then you have John Simpson backing up Dylan Parham, because if the Dylan Parham experiment doesn't work, we have a somewhat reliable guard in John Simpson, at least to the point where he'll come in and it'll be fine. Like, he improved a lot in my opinion, but I think Dylan Parham will just get the start over him. Moving on. Before I move on, actually, Alex Leatherwood, not here. The thing with what I had to look at was, I don't think we cut him. If he's not traded, he's staying on the team. So I would probably take, I don't know, maybe Thayer Munford to the practice squad and put Alex Leatherwood in, or take away someone here or there and put Alex Leatherwood on the roster as like a backup right guard or right tackle. Now, the reasoning I don't think we cut him is because he takes so much cap to cut, dead cap, that it's not worth it. But if you trade him, it's a significantly less dead cap hit. So I would say they'd be more willing to eat I think it's $1 million a year in dead cap to trade him with, to get a pick or a player or something like that, than to cut him and eat dead cap for no reason for a possibly serviceable right guard. Or just a body. I mean, he's going to be there to practice. So it's definitely going to be if he's traded, he'll be traded. But if not, he's staying on the team. But in my mind, they go the route of trading him, possibly packaging him with Keelan Cole, which I actually saw from Phil Jones on Twitter. Shout out Phil Jones, NFL on Twitter. Go follow him. He's a great guy. But yeah, I think it could be like a package like that. It could be a pick and Leatherwood for something else, and either Keelan Cole just gets straight up cut, or maybe even traded. Same thing as Alex Leatherwood. But I definitely think it's easier to cut Keelan Cole than it's Alex Leatherwood right now. But if you are able to package Cole and Leatherwood to a team for a pick, I'll take that. But moving on to the defense, let's scroll down here. Let's make sure you guys can you guys see all of it? Yeah, there we go. All right, for defense, we have defensive end 1, Max Crosby, and behind him, Tashawn Bauer. And then nose tackle is going to be Jonathan Hankins, Andrew Billings, and Neil Farrell Jr. Defensive tackle, Bilal Nichols, Kyle Pico, Matthew Butler. Defensive end, Chandler Jones, Malcolm Kuntz, Cleveland Furl. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to discuss what I have here. Now, I think we can definitely carry 5 defensive ends. Cleveland Furl's guaranteed roster spot. I was in the middle of the preseason. I was like, I don't know if he makes it just because he is injured. But I think he does. He's not a bad player at all. He doesn't live up to the 4th round talent, but he's not a bad player. He's a very solid backup player. He's a decent starter if you are in need of a pass rusher or just a defensive end. He gets overhated just because of where he was drafted, which is fine because he should have, maybe lived up to that 4th overall pick. But just in general, he's done fine. Not anything bad in his career. He just hasn't lived up to the hype that he was drafted at. But he stays on the team. He's a decent defensive end. It's solid, especially as a backup, especially as a run stopper. He's not going to get insane stack numbers, but he should be a very solid defensive end. Plus, he can go inside if we need him to, especially in odd man fronts, to play the bigger defensive end along with Tashawn Bauer as well. And then you have Malcolm Kuntz, who should be a pass rush specialist. He's not going to be anything more than that, which is not a knock to him. It's just what he's good at. And then Tashawn Bauer is more well-rounded. Just overall good pass rushers. He was a developmental pick from LSU. He was on the Patriots, and then he kind of shifted teams, and now he's here. And he was the defensive MVP for the Raiders, and I think just the league in general. He had an insane preseason, like 6 sacks or something crazy like that. He had a great preseason. I'm very excited to see what he does as a backup. And then for the nose tackle and defensive tackle starters, you have Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols. Oh, and also Max Crosby and Chandler Jones are obviously starters. They're studs. They're going to be amazing as a duo. But Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols, I was a fucking idiot. When I did my original Final 53 predictions, I thought Hankins' injury was actually something to look at, but it wasn't. And I just said he wasn't going to make the roster. They were going to cut him for like a injury waiver, which I was really stupid to say. But Hankins is a stud. He's a space eater when healthy. And Bilal Nichols should be a very good pass rush defensive tackle. Same thing with Pico. I think Pico showed some good pass rush ability in the preseason, which is why I have him backing up Nichols. And then you have Andrew Billings as a backup nose tackle. Again, another big space eater. It showed promise as just a backup nose tackle or defensive tackle in the preseason as well. And then you have the pass rushing defensive tackle in Matthew Butler as like the 3rd stringer, and same thing with Neil Farrell Jr. They need to develop a little bit more. They've shown flashes of potential, especially Matthew Butler this last game, but which is fine as late round picks. They are, they deserve time to develop. But they should be good to, as backups, or at least solid. They won't get absolutely demolished. They looked good. They didn't look great. They didn't look bad per se. They look disappointing maybe at points. But I think they'll be fine as the season goes on. And then at linebacker, I have Divine Diablo, Denzel Perryman, Jayon Brown, Luke Masterson, undrafted free agent, and Curtis Bolton. So I think Curtis Bolton makes the roster just because of his play against Miami. He's a very smart guy. I listened to what Tape Don't Lie had to say about him, and putting their perspective and what they saw, and also watching the game myself, I saw what they were seeing. He played the ball very well. He was able to think quickly on his feet, and he's definitely an athlete. And also, I want to root for him. He's a Raiders fan. He's been a Raiders fan his whole life. Why wouldn't I want him to be a Raider? But not just the storyline is awesome, but his play was really good. Same thing with Luke Masterson. He's an undrafted free agent of Wake Forest. No one really ever thought about him making the roster, but here he is, making an interception in the final preseason game against Mac Jones, the starters of the Patriots offense, and having quite a big impact. I noticed him in the Jaguars game. I was like, this kid could be something. He could definitely make the roster, and I talked about it. You can go back and watch my videos. I've been talking about him this whole preseason as someone that could make the roster. And he did. He's going to make the roster. Maybe not he did, but he will. He will make this roster. He's just that. He just looked that good. And then the starter trio of Diablo, Perryman, and Brown was pretty obvious to choose, as they've been the starters this whole time. But moving on to the corners and free safeties, so the defensive backs. I have Rocky Sin, Anthony Averett, and undrafted free agent Sam Webb. You have Trayvon Murray, Daron Harmon, Jonathan Abram, Derek Teamer, Trayvon Mullen, Darius Phillips, and Nate Hobbs. So, some interesting names here are Sam Webb. He was, as I said, undrafted free agent. He's looked really, really good this preseason, like a very, very good player. Someone you might be seeing this missing is Amik Robertson. I don't think he makes the roster. I think Sam Webb outplayed him, and he's younger, he's hungrier. And I, wish Amik the best, but I think just Sam Webb outplayed him this preseason. And offseason in general, he's had a lot of talk about him, not just in the games, but also at camp. And then you have Derek Teamer, who's just going to be a special teamer mostly, but he's played solid enough as a hard-hitting, strong safety to make the roster. And then Daron Harmon is the closer. He's going to play in spots at free safety. Just a solid veteran presence in rotation with Trayvon Murray and Jonathan Abram to play both safety roles. Honestly, he can play both. He's just a very solid veteran presence. He'll probably have a couple picks this season, but he'll have a very solid season. And then if Jonathan Abram at strong safety, I think he'll play like a hybrid linebacker safety role, which is where he should be playing. He should be playing more of a, what's his name from the Seahawks? Adams. I forget his name. Or Adam, or something like that. You know who I'm talking about, Blitz Boy. He will be playing like a blitz boy role. He won't get a lot of picks. He might get one or two, just because he somehow gets picks. Like every season he's been healthy, he's got a pick or two. So that's pretty good, honestly, for someone who hasn't looked that great. But Trayvon Murray should have an excellent season, maybe even a Pro Bowl season, depending on how he plays. He should be a stud second round and second year safety out of TCU. He should have another excellent season. And then you have the nickelback, Nate Hobbs. That was pretty obvious. Rocky Sin, and Trayvon Mullen will be the starting trio for the corners. And then for backups, you have Anthony Averett and Darius Phillips. Anthony Averett, a very solid corner coming out of his best season ever with the Ravens. Had a chance to start last season and stepped up to the plate in a big way and made a lot of big plays for them. And then you have Darius Phillips, who's just a solid special teams, veteran presence. But yeah, this is the defense. This is what I think the defense will look like. And then moving on to the special teams, you got a sneak peek of the practice squad a little bit. Special teams is pretty obvious. Daniel Cole, A.J. Carlson, Trent C. Can't wait to see what the bearded, long lock men can do this season. Hopefully Tom McMahon doesn't ruin them. But looking at the practice squad, I didn't do all 16 because it's almost impossible to guess, but here almost my hopefuls would make the practice squad. You have Ike Brown, who I've talked about a lot this preseason, about being a lockdown corner. I think he should be a solid, if we need him to be called up, he should play very well. Then you have Haranis Grasu, who should be the backup center, but he just needs to be on practice squad. He doesn't need to be on the roster. Then you have Isaiah Zuber, who looked, he had that interception against the Patriots, so there's that. His versatility, though, just in general, outside of being all-star defensive back, he's a big body wide receiver, and he's also a returner. He was a returner in the USFL, a pretty solid one at that. But he should make his way back to the practice squad if he chooses to join us back, which I hope he does. And then you have Nick Bowers, who should be the tight end 4, basically, but we don't need 4 tight ends on the roster, so we'll keep him in practice squad. They have Austin Walter, who's been the preseason, running back GOAT other than Britton Brown. Him and Britton Brown have been a two-headed monster for us, but I don't think Austin Walter makes a roster over anyone that we have in the running back room. So he'll probably make his way back to the practice squad, I hope, but some other team might pick him up. And then you have Chase Garbers, who should come back as quarterback 3. Then you have Kendall Vickers, Zach Von Valkenburg as some D-line. They were both very solid. Kendall Vickers has been talked about being on the 53, but I think Kyle Pika outplayed him. And then you have Zach Von Valkenburg, who I think outplayed Myron Tagovailoa Amosa for that, undrafted free agent practice squad, defensive end. And then you have Bam Olaseni, who should be another developmental tackle. He's just a big guy. He needs to get better at pass pro, and then he should be decent to solid, maybe, with a year or two of development. And then you have Darian Butler, who I've talked about a lot as a potential 53-man roster guy, but I unfortunately don't think he makes it just because I think Luke Masterson outplayed him, and Curtis Bolton as well. But I definitely think he makes his way back to the practice squad. At least I hope so, because he definitely has some big play potential at the linebacker position. Now, that is it. That is my 53-man roster prediction. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you think I'm a fucking idiot, whether you think I'm a fucking genius. Let me know. Tell me how it is. Don't forget to like and subscribe on my way to 100. I'm 19 away. I'm at 81 right now. So any subscription would be appreciated. I appreciate all the love and support recently. I should be doing Retro Bowl this Tuesday, a little later than I usually do, just because of band camp and work. But it will get out on Tuesday at some point, hopefully. If not, I don't know. I'll do it either Wednesday, or I'll do my best, because it is playoff time now in Retro Bowl. So I want to see you guys here, get hype. You've definitely shown some love on the most recent video, which I'm greatly appreciative for. So definitely go check out the previous one to get yourself set up for the playoff game on Tuesday. And then don't forget to turn on the notification bell when you subscribe. That way you don't miss an upload. I'm trying to post almost every day as best I can, especially with news. With a lot of news coming. And then on Tuesday there's the big cut, so I might even stream that as well. Or maybe on Wednesday I'll do a big cut extravaganza video talking about who is cut, the final 53 and stuff like that. But thank you all for the recent support and all the support you've done along the way. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you've had a absolutely wonderful day, and peace out, Raider Nation.